I want Steve Angeli to be pulled early versus Colgate. No, I want to be very clear here. I am not calling for Syracuse football to bench Steve Angeli or that Syracuse should not start Steve Angeli. We've already made it very clear here on this podcast how, yes, I did think that way at times during the UConn game, like many of you also thought as well. But after what he did at the end of the fourth quarter and in overtime, leading that comeback victory for Syracuse, even though the jury is still out on Steve Angeli, in my opinion, I'm not sitting here calling for his job versus Colgate, okay? What I am saying is that Syracuse should get out to a big enough lead in this one that they do not need their starting quarterback playing late in this one. Last year, and this is why I felt that Syracuse did not play well versus Holy Cross a year ago when they played an FCS opponent. Kyle McCord was in that game for way too long. It was in the fourth quarter, and it was pretty much out of necessity because it was a 3-score game in the fourth quarter. Now, I know that Syracuse is not going to blow a 3-score game in the fourth quarter to an FCS opponent, but you still are not far enough away as far as a point differential wise to where you could just pull all your starters, more specifically your starting quarterback. So I want Steve Angeli to be pulled early in this one. Here are a couple reasons why. Number one, and they kind of work hand in hand together, Steve Angeli has gotten destroyed at times behind the offensive line, whether it's the offensive line being beat or simply because they're allowing a lot of free rushers over on Angeli. He's taken some hard hits this season so far, and I do definitely respect the toughness that he has shown. But ideally, Friday night is just really a dress rehearsal game for what Syracuse is going to face a week later. They do have an extra day of rest for it when they take on Clemson. And assuming Steve Angeli makes that start against Clemson, he's going to have a lot of bumps and bruises when he leaves that game. Win, lose, or draw, Clemson is going to beat him up in that one. Doesn't mean that Syracuse can't win, though. They can still beat Clemson. Maybe. Just maybe. Fingers crossed, right? But let's get Steve Angeli out of the game early so we can minimize the amount of hits he takes against Colgate. And this, again, it works hand in hand. The risk of injury. Injuries stink, but injuries can happen anywhere at any time in the sport like football and really in sports in general. And they stink. Again, nobody ever wants to see anyone get hurt. I don't care who you are. You're the opponent. Well, you're on the team. It doesn't matter. I don't want to see anyone really get hurt in games. I want everyone to leave happy and healthy, win, lose, or draw. Steve Angeli is the quarterback one. Okay, he is the starting quarterback of Syracuse football. Not that we want anyone in particular to get hurt more or less, but he is the starting quarterback. He's the most important player on this team. I don't want him getting hurt versus Colgate. I know it's technically possible regardless. That's just how it is. It's football. Things will happen. But the further that he is in this game, the chance of injury goes up just because you're staying in the game. If he's on the sideline, chance of injury goes way down. So the most ideal and realistic scenario for the quarterback play in this one is that by the third quarter, we see Ricky Collins in this game. Perhaps we also see some guys like Jakari Williams or a Luke Carney or a Rich Bellin, one of Syracuse's young quarterbacks. And here's a fair comparison for you. Last week, I know it's Alabama and it's UL Monroe, but Alabama in that game last week played 3 different quarterbacks in their 73-0 victory over them. Their backup came in for starter Ty Simpson to start the third quarter. I'm not sitting here saying that it would be a failure if Steve Angeli starts the third quarter, but I definitely do not want him in the game in the fourth quarter.